Hello. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the best interval between laser hair repeat sessions. So, what determines the overall number of sessions that are needed in laser or IPL hair removal? Well, we have to consider the hair growth cycles. This includes the anagen, catagen and telogen phases. And as we know, we can only kill follicles successfully in the anagen phase. What we're trying to do here is to irreversibly denature the germ or the stem cells in the follicle bulge, and these only become active during anagen. If we can assume 100% denaturation of these cells, which will kill the follicle, then what is the optimum interval between repeat sessions? So I set up a little model using Excel, Microsoft Excel, and I chose a number of cells like this. For anagen phase hairs, I chose a nice lovely pink color. For catagen, a sort of beigey yellow color, and for the telogen phase, green color. And each cell represents 1 week of that phase. So for a single hair cycle, you might have, for example, 8 weeks of anagen, followed by 2 weeks of catagen, which is pretty normal out there, and 6 weeks of telogen. And this would be a full cycle for one particular hair follicle. So for the upper lip, it looks something like this. We've got the time axis going from top to bottom. So you've got a full cycle of 24 weeks. That's one complete cycle for the upper lip. And you can see there that there's another cycle below that, and then the start of a third cycle. So in 1 year, you're only going to get 2 complete cycles of hair growth on the upper lip. When you extend that across to other hairs, what I did here was I pushed the next follicle, so to speak, 1 week back. So it's 1 week out of kilter with the first follicle. And when you extend that, you get a design like this. Now, what this shows is 24 hair follicles, which in fact represents every hair on the upper lip, because if you pick any random hair, it will be in one of these cycles, one of these points in this chart. So in actual fact, 24 hairs, or 24 representations like this, actually represents every single hair on the upper lip. So this is the design of the little model that I made, which we can then use to figure out how to kill them. And if we look at the hair growth cycles for different hairs across the body, you can see that there's quite a large variation between them all, because they're all growing at different rates, and they all remain in the different phases for different durations. So you can see here that the difference between the upper lip, the arm, the armpits, bikini legs, and the chin. The chin, the anagen phase in the chin continues for up to a year, which explains why chin hair can grow so long. So if we go back to just an upper lip, this, like I said, this represents all the hairs in your upper lip. And if we decide we're going to do a treatment today, then we're looking at week 0. That's today. So that's all these hairs up here. Now we can only kill the hairs in the anagen phase, so that would kill that one and all these guys. So those follicles are now technically dead, right? So if they're dead, then they're dead for all time. They don't come back. So when is the next best time to treat? Well, the criteria that I used was we want to treat when most of the follicles, or all of them, are back in anagen. So we can see from this little image that this will occur at this point, 8 weeks after the first treatment, because at that point all the follicles are back in the anagen phase. They're all pink again. In actual fact, we can see that any time between 8 and 16 weeks, all these follicles are in anagen. So after the first treatment today, you would ask your patient to come back anytime between 8 and 16 weeks, and we can then do a second treatment, and technically you could kill all the follicles in just 2 sessions. Of course, that's assuming a 100% kill rate or efficiency. The reality is that we can't actually do that. But it does show that if we were able to be 100% efficient, then adopting an 8 to 16 week interval would result in only 2 sessions to kill all the follicles. What if we do 100% efficiency but with only a 6 week interval? What happens then? So this is after today's treatment. We do the next treatment at 6 weeks, and you can see that we've missed some follicles because they were not in anagen, they're still in telogen at the time of the second treatment. So we treat those 6 weeks later and we can kill all those. In fact, we could have treated those 2 weeks later and killed them. Okay, so let's assume a more realistic kill rate or efficiency of 80%. This is probably much more within our scope. And again, go back to an 8 week interval. So in the upper lip, we have 16 anagen follicles available on week 0. So 80% of that is 14. So we kill 14 of these follicles. 2 of them have survived because either we've missed them or not used sufficient fluids. When the patient comes back after 8 weeks, we adopt the same approach. We kill 80% of the anagen follicles again. And again, that misses 2 in this case. And then 16 weeks, so 8 weeks again later, 80% is only going to be 1 of these follicles. And then notice this is quite interesting. 8 weeks again later, you see that that particular follicle, or set of follicles in fact, are now back in telogen. So in actual fact, doing a treatment at that time, at the 24 week, has a null effect because those follicles are not in the right state, unfortunately. So what we find is that by adopting an 80% efficiency, the number of treatments jumps from 2 up to between 4 and 5, which is not so good. Let's now assume a 60% efficiency, so not quite as good as 80%, and go back to the 8 week interval. So here's our upper lip hairs again. 60% in this case is only 10 of these anagen follicles, so we kill these 10, leaving 6 behind. At 8 weeks we kill 60% again, and we kill those ones, and 8 weeks later again and again. So you can see that as the efficiency drops, the number of treatments increases. Obviously, that's not rocket science. So the efficiency or the kill rate is what determines how many sessions here, assuming that you're carrying out the treatment correctly in the first place, of course. So with 100% efficiency, you could theoretically kill all the follicles in just 2 sessions. With an 80% efficiency, that jumps up to between 4 and 5 sessions, and with a 60% efficiency, that goes up even higher to between 6 and 7 sessions. So knowing that, what are the optimum intervals between these treatment sessions? So if we were to do a full body treatment today, just as an example, so a patient or a client comes in and says, I want all these areas treated today. And then they say, when is the next best time to come in for the follow-up treatment? Well, by using this model, you can see that on the chin, they should wait 4 weeks. On the upper lip and their underarms, it would be 8 weeks, along with the bikini and the legs. But the arms would require 12 weeks, just because of the growth cycles and the way they operate. So that's not too convenient, but it gets worse. If they had these treatments at those times, then the treatment afterwards, the third treatment, would be at these time intervals. So for the chin, it doesn't matter after the second treatment. The upper lip, 2 to 4 weeks after the second treatment. For the armpits and the bikini, you're looking at 4 to 12 weeks. For the arms, 6 to 8, and for the legs, 14 to 16. And this is all because of the durations of the anagen and the telogen phases. It's really not intuitive at all here. It's very confusing. And this is assuming 60% efficiency. So more sort of realistic, real world type things. So clearly, this is not doable in the real world. Nobody's going to come back at 2 weeks and then 4 weeks and then 6 weeks and then 14 weeks. That's just not feasible. So I thought, okay, what if we force the issue and say, let's treat somebody every 4 weeks? What happens then? And this is assuming, again, a 60% efficiency. Well, what I found was, if you treat somebody every 4 weeks, then you can remove all the hairs on their upper lip and their chin in 7 sessions, in their bikini and their armpits in 8 sessions, and on their legs in 9 sessions. If you leave 6-week intervals, then that range drops to between about 6 and 8. And if you leave 8-week intervals, then it becomes between 6 and 7. So, in actual fact, what happens is that if you leave a little bit longer between treatment sessions, then the total number of treatments drops, but not by that much, only by 1 or 2. So it's not it's not a significant difference. So it's interesting, because if you look at the industry out there, you'll see that most clinics and salons will state that you require between 6 and 8 sessions of laser or IPL hair treatments. And this indicates that most people are operating at somewhere between 50 and 60% efficiency. Now, that efficiency depends not only on how good their equipment is, but also on how good their training is. If their training is poor, then their efficiency will be low, and if it's good training, then it should be significantly higher. I suspect, just from personal experience, that the efficiency depends much more on the training than on the equipment, because most equipment is perfectly fine. But if you have the best equipment in the world and poor training, then you're not going to get good results. Simple as that. So my conclusion is that the efficiency is important, absolutely, and I suspect it's the training that's the more important part of that. But in actual fact, in terms of the intervals between treatment sessions, it comes down to the longer the interval, the fewer sessions you require. And it's quite a simple, straightforward answer to a fairly complicated question. So my recommendation is leave between 6 and 8 weeks on all body areas, maybe even slightly longer on the legs, because they've got such a long telogen phase. And if you do that, then the overall number of treatment sessions will be reduced. If you have treatments every 4 weeks, then you will need more treatment sessions. Simple as that. Thanks for listening. I hope this makes things a little bit more understandable. It's quite a complicated analysis when you look at it, but the actual result is quite straightforward. Leave longer times to have fewer treatments. Simple as that. Hope you enjoyed this, and please have a look at my blog for some other stuff. Thank you.